Federalizing DC. Well, this is going to go over great with the political left. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz today. Just an aging room Maduro here. Something simple to get me started with. The show's about to begin. Let's go. Let's go.
This dire public safety crisis stems directly from the abject failures of the city's local leadership. The radical left city council adopted no cash bail. By the way, every place in the country where you have no cash bail is a disaster. That's what started the problem in New York, and they don't change it. They don't want to change it. That's what started it in Chicago. I mean, bad politicians started it, bad leadership started it, but that was the one thing that's central: no cash bail. Somebody murders somebody and they're out on no cash bail before the day is out. We're going to end that in Chicago. We're going to change the statute. I spoke with Pam and Todd and everybody. We're going to change the statute, and I'm going to have to get the Republicans to vote because the Democrats are weak on crime. Totally weak on crime.
You knew that's where this was going, right? This conversation about the federalizing, if you will, of DC is the conversation about saying, look at what Democrats have done to you. We're going to do something about it. And in this conversation, one must keep in mind that no one is having a conversation about anything that is outside the law. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Find everything at TonyKatz.com. The live stream happening over there at YouTube.com/TonyKatz or on Facebook. Twitter there, Facebook, Tony Katz Radio, Twitter, X, at Tony Katz. There was even a part during his presser where he said it used to be, you could do anything you want to the cops. You could spit on the cops. And now it's, you spit, we hit. The cops used to be hamstrung, and now they can do anything. Well, no, they can't do anything, for the sake of clarity. And I don't want a society where the cop can do anything. But that said, what people want, they want law and order, and they want security, and the political left can't give it, refuses to give it, is incapable of giving it, and in many situations, one should argue won't give it. They won't. It is obvious, and something President Trump brought up. Do you guys really want this? You live in these places. You live in these cities. Why in the world would you want the lawlessness? Why in the world would you want the violence? You live here. This was President Trump.
I understand a lot of you tend to be on the liberal side, but you don't want to get mugged and raped and shot and killed. And you all know people and friends of yours that happened. And so you can be anything you want, but you want to have safety in the streets. You want to be able to leave your apartment or your house where you live and feel safe and go into a store to buy a newspaper or buy something. And you don't have that now. The murder rate in Washington today is higher than that of Bogota, Colombia, Mexico City, some of the places that you hear about as being the worst places on earth. Much higher. This is much higher. The number of car thefts has doubled over the past 5 years, and the number of carjackings has more than tripled. Murders in 2023 reached the highest rate probably ever. They say 25 years, but they don't know what that means because it just goes back 25 years. Can't be worse. Our capital city has been overtaken by violent gangs and bloodthirsty criminals, roving mobs of wild youth.
He's not wrong. He is not wrong. And there'll be people who say that this is racist. Allow me, because I often get the hit on the other side. Why won't you say this is about black men or about black culture? Allow me. This is about liberal culture. One could argue that this is about godless culture, but I think there are plenty of people who are atheists or agnostic who understand decency, and I don't think that they should somehow be told that they are less so because of a lack of faith. That's just not who I am. In the same breath The idea that if you are black, this is what's going to happen. This is what you will do. This is what you will condone. That's nonsense. That is nonsense. We all know that to be true. So what we are looking at is liberal culture. We are looking at an ideology, a culture, a value system, a philosophy that does, in many respects, say you're owed. White people did this and white people did that and white people did the other. And if someone thinks that that's bigoted of me, I'm sorry, I'm not the one who said any of that stuff. That was Al Sharpton. That was Jamel Hill. That was Nicole Hannah-Jones in The Lie of the 1619 Project. That was Elie Mystal. And the list goes on and on and on and on. If you want to argue that James Baldwin had the right arguments regarding that the only thing that the black man is looking for in America is a chance to speak out about the issues that they are experiencing, then I would have to ask Mr. Baldwin, if he were still alive today, what does this tell you? This tells you somehow of an opportunity not yet realized? This tells you of a promise not yet delivered? Or does this tell you something about where a philosophy is taking place, taking hold, taking root? If we argue properly, we understand that this is about liberal culture, a culture of having no responsibility for one's actions. Everything else, everyone else is against you. Everything is positioned against you. You are only reacting in a way because of what others have done to you or done against you. The entire philosophy is one that abdicates the concept of personal responsibility. What does it matter? It's somebody else's fault. What does it matter? It's somebody else's issue. What does it matter? There is no consequence except what my emotions tell me at the moment. I must satisfy that. And always, that's the liberal philosophy. That's the liberal mindset. That is liberal culture. Does it matter to me if Charlemagne the God or Sonny Hosted tell me I can't speak about this because I'm not black? Oh, crap. Talk about any subject I want. Do they actually think they could tell me not to? They can come here and try, but they better come heavy. We have honest conversations because that's all we have left. And what we see in the streets has nothing to do, nothing at all to do with being black. It has to do with liberalism, because while the action you may see is a group of black kids here and a group of black kids there, and it's not just a group, it's happening in lots of places across the country. I don't want to diminish it. Who are the ones giving them the biggest offense? White liberal women. Proving my point, proving the argument. Now, if you said to me that young black kids, boys and girls, are inundated with these lies, with this hate, with this vitriol, with this concept that somehow they can never do any wrong, they got to be the toughest people at all times, and everybody else has to give to them, I will concede that that is true. I will also say that it is larger than specifically black men and black women and black boys and black girls. But that part is true. But where that comes from has nothing to do with the color of one's skin. It doesn't. It has to do with liberalism as a whole. And the violence that we see and the brutality that we see in DC has to do with that. And by the way, in Chicago, in Los Angeles, in San Francisco, in my beloved Indianapolis, in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in Orlando, in St. Louis, in Peoria, in Detroit, in Baton Rouge, this is it. So this move from President Trump, people are going to scream and they are going to yell and they are going to holler. They're going to lose their minds. And they're going to say on the political left, you see, Trump's an authoritarian. I start where I started. This has nothing to do with a changing of any laws anywhere. This has to do with the implementation of the laws. In multiple states, there are conversations, I should state, in multiple red states, there are conversations about how does one handle the blue cities and the lawlessness therein. Maybe this is Trump giving a little bit of, here you go. Here's something you can do. But people are going to see this, and they're not going to scream, Trump is an authoritarian. Oh, sure they will on MSNBC, but that's what they're paid to do. The circus seal will do what the circus seal does in order to get the bit of fish. But in real America, all around America, they're going to say, well, look at that. Somebody's finally taking crime seriously. Someone's finally saying to those low-rent prosecutors like, oh, we don't prosecute this, that, and the other, that your day is done. And maybe people who live in the cities who want something better will grow up and vote differently. To the people who live in the cities, these lefty-run cities. And you know it's a disaster. Stop voting for Democrats. Stop thinking abortion is the single most important subject in the world, because it's not, and vote for a Republican and see what happens. Vote for a libertarian and see what happens. But stop voting for these Democrats who don't do you any good. They take your vote for granted. They hate you, and they don't care if your kid dies. They don't care if you bury all your kids. Haven't they proven that? So stop voting for them. This is about you. You want better? You like what you're seeing here? Somebody finally taking crime seriously? Well, then change what you do. Abortion doesn't matter. Your city is dying or dead, and you need to keep it from dying or revive it. Your kids aren't safe, and you can't afford to move. Now what? Now what? Change the way you think. Give up the cultural attacks and the people who provide the cultural attacks on you. Try something different. Yes, MSNBC and CNN will scream authoritarianism. The rest of America will scream, why aren't we doing that here? I've got more on this. Keep it here. I'm Tony Katz, and this is Tony Katz Today. Guys, welcome back. Tony Katz. Tony Katz Today. God, I don't know. I feel like we kind of rushed to the show. It felt a little weird. I think I need to do better on announcing that the show is happening. I think that's what I need to do more of. Right there. Let me. Oh, I've got this over here, and that's got it. Let me do this. Much better. Beautiful. So, talk to me. What's going on? What's everybody doing? Where's everybody at? I don't know. People are being called silly goose. That can't be a good sign. That's no way to start a show. Oh, I was asked about the photos behind me. These are not photos. Over here. These are not photos. So these are I've gone through this before, I believe. These are comedy albums. So that right there is Mort Saul. That is Bob Newhart. That is Steve Martin. I've got more. I just don't have them on the wall yet. Don't have them on the wall yet. I will get there. Meanwhile, we'll get back to the show. Major Mike Lyons scheduled to be with us. We're going to go a little bit longer on the live stream today than we usually do. What can I say? I'm an enigma. All right, ready when you are. Right on. Trump, Putin, the conversation, I don't know what's going to come of it. They are going to meet in Alaska on Friday. Vice President Vance.
To your point about weapons, what we said to the Europeans is simply, first of all, this is in your neck of the woods. This is in your back door. You guys have got to step up and take a bigger role in this thing. And if you care so much about this conflict, you should be willing to play a more direct and a more substantial way in funding this war yourself. I think the president, and I certainly think that America, we're done with the funding of the Ukraine war business. We want to bring about a peaceful settlement to this thing. We want to stop the killing. But Americans, I think, are sick of continuing to send their money, their tax dollars to this particular conflict.
I got to admit to you that the more I hear J.D. Vance, the vice president, on this subject, I think the worse he comes across. In that his argument is not based, but rather it's thin. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Find everything at TonyKatz.com. Do I think that Americans are exhausted with support of Ukraine? I don't. Are there people loud on the political right who are exhausted with support of Ukraine? Absolutely. And this sounds like a conversation of pushing an idea, an ideology, as opposed to where Americans really are. So just say it the way it is. I don't think we should be doing this. I think we can come up with a better way. Well, that's fine. But I don't think that's representative of America. Steve Bannon is not representative of where America is on this. Just not. They're not representative on the fact that Russia's the aggressor. Russia's the aggressor. End of list. And any argument of, well, you see the problem with the Ukrainians, that's an inconsequential argument. If Russia had invaded Ukraine, we could talk about the problem with the Ukrainian government. But they did. And they started killing. And they won't stop killing. And that's all there is to it. So I would argue that, and certainly not regarding the left side of the aisle, that simply favors giving anything Ukraine wants, anything Ukraine asks for, they get, right? They favor that because Trump doesn't want that, or J.D. Vance doesn't want that. That's not an argument either. The argument is, what is it that we can expect to do to try and get this to stop? And maybe the follow-up is that our job? Which would be a much more honest conversation than the one I think J.D. Vance is giving there in the conversation with Maria Bartiromo at Fox Business. I don't think that he's presenting the honesty. First things first, should we? What do we care? I think we should. People like Kurt Schlichter from Town Hall is like, nope, this is their issue. We don't need to put any blood or treasure to this. I do not favor, like I've said from the very beginning years ago, sending in one troop. I do not favor, for example, no-fly zones. When that conversation came up, no. I don't favor any of that. I favor weapons and I favor bullets. I absolutely do. We should be talking about weapons and bullets going to Ukraine. I think it's weird to not favor those things. I think it's weird to favor the idea of, here come the Russians. They've decided to take some land. Oh, well. Now, I could say also that when I see Daniel Hannan of the UK say, this is despicable, taking land by force, explain to me how else land is taken. History is replete with examples of how the land is taken, and it's taken by force. All right, it could be natural disaster, and people flee an area, and other people come into an area, but it's taken by force. That's how it's done. This isn't surprising. The question is, do we want it? That goes back to whether or not you think Russia is an expansionist power. If you believe Tucker Carlson and others that Russia is not an expansionist power, that these areas of Donetsk and Luhansk, the Donbass, is ethnically Russian, they align more with the Russians, so they want to be Russian, you can. You could say that. I would argue that anybody who thinks that Russia is not an expansionist power is out of their mind. And if you think Russia stops here, that's crazy talk. That is certifiable. Russia doesn't stop here. And Poland knows that. And the people who are not the pseudo-intellectuals of France and the UK know that. I mean, Keir Starmer talks about supporting Ukraine, but somewhere he thinks somehow maybe the Russians, that's it. I don't know. Maybe he's read a couple more books than I realized. And he's like, oh, no, this is what the Russians do. We have this agreement, that's the word, with Ukraine regarding rare earth and rare earth minerals. So we're going to put investment there. We're going to protect the investment. Isn't that de facto putting troops on the ground? Again, not what I asked for, just asking if you're going to have investment, you're going to protect the investment from Russian aggression. What, you're just going to let them take over after you put in billions of dollars? That's not the way that works. That's just not the way that works. I don't from the moment J.D. Vance challenged Vladimir Zelenskyy in the Oval Office, and I believe he lost that challenge, I don't believe he has hit this story right. He has hit this story authentically, and I don't think he has done anything other than echo where the quote-unquote woke right is, whatever that is. But I'm learning. Do you believe Russia to be an expansionist power? If you do, you want to stop Russia where they are. Now, do I believe Ukraine's going to have to give up land? Yes. I think that's the only way this is going to happen. They don't want to? Well, then you're going to have to fight this for yourself because this is happening. Keep it here. It's Tony Katz today. Yeah, I just, there's a consistency issue that I feel it's lost. And it kills me with Vance because he's so good on so many subjects. So many. He's so adept in so many places. But I will tell you this, and you can quote me from now until the end of time. Trump can play the idea that J.D. Vance is the heir apparent all he wants. Republican Party doesn't believe it. Let me be a little more clear. Those Republicans who want to run in 2028, they think he's soft. J.D. Vance takes his first punch to the face, J.D. Vance will fall down. I am convinced that that's the belief. I'm not saying it will happen. No, I think J.D. Vance is a smart dude. But I do think that that's the feel. And I think that getting getting Marco Rubio to say J.D. Vance is doing a great job. I mean, that's probably the biggest get of the year right there. That's a massive one. But I think you will find that there are people like, nope, this guy's soft. My resume is just as good as his. There we go. That is, of course, with the understanding and the statement that Trump's 4-year term ends as it should with Trump in office, and there isn't something that catastrophic that happens in between. Leaving it there. You tell me where you are. You tell me what you think right there. Forgive me, someone texted me. I'm supposed to be somewhere tomorrow, and I didn't realize I had to respond. Yeah, tomorrow's going to be a short day, but we'll get to that a little bit later. I would make a world-class president. I would be. I am prepared. I am ready. If nominated, I will run. If elected, I will serve. Oh, that's happening, and we're going to have brisket competitions right there on the South Lawn. That's 1,000% happening. And the show is going to be excellent there, Tony. Tickets.tonykatz.com. You want to get your tickets right now for myself and for the one and only Nick Searcy. We are going to be here in the Indianapolis area from Hollywood to the Heartland. It's going to be so good. Show's going to be so good. Where's my little graphic on? I can't find that. It's going to be incredible. Cannot wait to bring it to you. The food, the barbecue, the cigars, the bourbon from West Fork Whiskey. It's going to be an absolutely amazing event. Incredible. You're going to love it. You are going to love it. From Hollywood to the Heartland, myself and actor Nick Searcy. You know him from Justified. You know him from Castaway, Runaway Jury. So many good films. So many good films. Tickets.tonykatz.com. Tickets.tonykatz.com. Get your tickets right now. Immediately. Get that done. It's going to be good. It's going to be great. Cannot wait. You should be buying your tickets as we speak. Thank you. Get that done. Get it handled. All right. Let me get to these things right here. So you got a peace deal with the Armenians and Azerbaijan. It's not going to get talked about much, but it is something indeed. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. It was over the weekend, a U.S. brokered agreement at the White House. There's Trump. There they are shaking hands, doing the whole thing. The Armenian prime minister, the president of Azerbaijan. There are a lot of long-standing conflicts and long-standing hatreds that so were clear, unless you're studying. I mean, there are people who will go and they'll say, hey, tell me about this thing. And then they'll come to you and be like, oh, here's the story. I know everything about it. Oh, they're so full of crap. I don't care if it's radio, I don't care if it's so-called influencer, it doesn't matter. It's garbage. You have a military victory from Azerbaijan in 2023 that moved Armenian forces and ethnic Armenians from these areas. This is a dispute over a landmass, as many things are. So part of the agreement is the announcement of a new transportation corridor. Now, this is where it gets like fascinating. So first things first, I want to see if I can find where this is on the map. Always look to a map. First things first, Azerbaijan and Armenia. I mean, if you don't know how these things kind of relate to each other, allow me to share this with you. So Azerbaijan, which is there on the coast of the Caspian Sea. So you've got Iran to the south, you've got Turkmenistan on the other side. Kind of a forgotten part of the world, I think, for a lot of people. They look at the Middle East, they look at Europe, and then they jump on over to India and China and this whole thing in the middle, like, hey, what about this? There's a lot of land. A lot of land. So here's Azerbaijan. And then to the west of that is Armenia. Okay? Landlocked Armenia. That's what we're talking about right here. So what part of this deal is it creates a transit corridor which talks about declining Russian influence, right? Because if you look just to the north of this, you'll find the country of Georgia, which, remember, if you engage just a little bit of history, this is part of what the Russians tried to take. And then you're right now, then you get to the Black Sea. You'll see Crimea there, which was also taken during Barack Obama's term in office, taken by the Russians. So the Russians, being depleted, having less ability to have a say in this part of the world, there's an opportunity. That opportunity being taken with the creation of what? The Trump route for international peace and prosperity. Oh my. The Trump route for international peace and prosperity. TRIPP, a trip? You take the trip? I assume that's what it's for. You understand that this has been going on between these two areas for decades. You understand that this stuff is very, very fraught. This is lifetimes of hatred. I have no idea if it's going to hold or not. Certainly, one should appreciate the effort. Effort matters. And hopefully, it will hold. And certainly, one can argue that it gives the United States a bit of influence in the area, and we should never, ever deny influence in an area. Oh, you could try and tell me it doesn't matter. Oh, it most definitely matters. Then you have Mike Huckabee. Mike Huckabee is the U.S. ambassador to Israel. And Mike Huckabee is going after CBS like it's his job. And you say to me, wait a second, isn't that the one that Trump sued and wants $200 billion or something like that? Well, it was them who did the deceptive editing of the Kamala Harris video. They did what they did. They're guilty. They're flat out guilty. They did what they did. So Huckabee is saying that CBS edited an interview on the subject of Israel, criticizing CBS this past Friday for selectively editing a recent interview with him, conveying a different message than the one he expressed in the full conversation. So what he posts is, ever wonder how the media edits an interview to give you a different story than the one they had? Here's CBS News interview with me yesterday and the unedited full transcript below. Take time and read. You'll see it. This was an interview that took place on August 7th. And it's CBS aggressively trying to undercut Israel and weaken Israel. So in the broadcast, the reporter by the name of Deborah Patta asked Trump if he is deeply troubled by the images of starving children. Now, we already know, because German magazines have pointed this out and others, that so many of these photos are staged. Hamas lies about everything. This is all a propaganda campaign, and ridiculously dopey liberals and college students who don't have the sense to come out of the rain. They're really dumb, and I advise against hiring them. Check, double check, and recheck, especially social media accounts, before you do. These people will fall for anything. They'll fall for anything. The Karen, the white liberal woman, my gosh, wants to fall for it. Tell her that you're lying to her, and she'll say, I don't care, as long as I can go scream at somebody on a street corner. So they manipulate data. They manipulate these images. They lie. They're fake. They're absolutely staged photos. But the problem is, when there's a real one, it's harder to tell because they lie about so much. So Huckabee is asked, the ambassador is asked whether he's deeply troubled by images of starving children. And Huckabee replies, I'm moved when the photos are verified. The reporter follows by insisting these are real images, to which Huckabee says, oh, I think that there are certainly people suffering in Gaza. What Huckabee said is, I'm moved when the photos are verified. I mean, we're all moved when you see someone, especially a child, who's starving. But the New York Times published a picture on the front page of what was purported to be a starving child. Turns out the child had a birth defect and had not been starving. Continues, there are other pictures, for example, that were published of starving children in Gaza. Turns out one of them was from Yemen. One was from 2017. There was another photo that appeared to be somewhat staged, with a photographer all set up to get pictures of a few people herded into a small area. That's when the reporter said, what about, talking about, these are real images. And Huckabee articulates the reason for the suffering, saying part of the reason is because you've had pallets and trucks full of food that the UN won't take in because they say they don't want military escort from the IDF, but they say it's not safe. And 87% of their own food, every time they do take it in, gets hijacked and looted. That's their number. Those aren't mine. I didn't make that up, says Ambassador Huckabee. That's what they report, meaning the UN. So he continues, there's not been a lack of food or even a lack of attempt. It's been an inefficient way of getting in. It's been a problem because you have a terror organization who's stealing it, looting it, and then turning around and selling it to the people who are hungry. So here's what he said. And then what did CBS say? But people are starving. They didn't care about the answer. They don't give a damn about the answer. You understand that this is material support to a terrorist organization. That's what's happening. It's not a debate. It's fact. It is support of a terrorist organization. Did you hear Bernie Sanders, by the way? You want to talk about support of a terrorist organization. Nobody does it quite like Bernie Sanders. No one comes close. Where I've got the clip, I know I do. Where Bernie is asked about, does he think that Gaza holds any responsibility, any culpability for people starving? And he's like, no. What do you mean no? How in the world do you get to know? What rational person? But Bernie is not a rational guy. Bernie Sanders is everything you ever thought he was. Now, there is such a thing as self-hating Jew. Don't get me wrong. That exists. But this is amazing in its horror.
Would you say Hamas has some culpability in people starving?
No.
Why?
When
they spent so much money building tunnels and everything under
so right now, what is going on is a slaughter. All right. And right now, Israel is, with few exceptions, is in control of the military situation. It is not Hamas's. Hamas is a terrible terrorist organization. All right. Mm-hmm. And I certainly hope they have no future. in a new Gaza or Palestine. But the fault right now is 100% on a Netanyahu government who has waged an all-out war, committed it's war crimes. They are war crimes.
He's a disgusting human being, and the people who follow him are desperate to be destroyed. This is a flat-out lie, a fraud from Bernie Sanders. The facts are the facts, and he doesn't care. He's never cared. What communist actually cares? Everything he says is a lie. He's never held a job, but his wife has bankrupted colleges. How does he afford the fancy mittens? Well, it just happens, I guess. Everybody knows that everyone who's a rational person knows that Hamas needs to be destroyed, that this terrorist organization keeps the people from being fed to the extent that they're not being fed, because there's a lot of pictures of people being just fine. And hatred of Netanyahu might be fine for you, but it doesn't change reality. That's Bernie Sanders giving support to Hamas, is what it is. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Sorry, guys, just finishing something up. Welcome back, everybody. Tony Katz. Tony Katz Today. So this is the Aging Room Maduro. So this is a Churchill. Aging Room makes a whole series of cigars. Some of them have topped the cigar aficionados list. That was Nicaragua. This is just a simple Maduro. This isn't any which way on a flavor scale. Just I think a basic cigar. Nice to do with the show. I think it burns well. It's an easy flavor. There's nothing harsh about this. And I just use it during the show. Also, outrageous price point. During the show, I don't get to smoke regularly, right? It's not a natural movement because I'm talking and everything like that. So if it should go out, if I have to discard it, it didn't, break the bank, which matters in situations like this. I mean, if I could just, smoke what I normally smoke or would like to smoke and cost was no issue, well, that would be a lot of wasted money. So maybe what I need is a cigar sponsor. Maybe that's what I'm missing. That's what I'm missing. Yeah, we've got some good sponsors. I am pleased. More coming on all the time, so I'm greatly appreciative of that. And what else do I have happening? What did I have next? Oh, I'm not going to do that story about Kimmel. I can get to that tomorrow. It's just these people are embarrassing when they can't bring themselves to recognize that they're the problem. Everybody else is always the problem. That is spectacular. There we go. Right there. So I will bring this one in. Boom. I told you the left was going to lose their minds. When it comes to Trump and federalizing police and taking over DC, I told you. All right, coming back. Finger on the dump button there, producer Landon.
Whatever the hell they want, as if police have been not doing anything before this, Eddie. What do you make of that? Whatever the hell they want.
Chris, to be honest with you, I'm trying to hold my temper. I think there's an ongoing argument that he's having in his head with Black Lives Matter. There's an ongoing argument that he's having with the questions around criminal justice reform and police reform. It's interesting that he really doesn't really care about what's actually happening in D.C. on a certain level, because he's not trying to get at the underlying root causes. He's not looking at examples of how to address rising crime rates that doesn't require a form of policing that leads to increased incarcerality and the like. Let's look at what's going on in Baltimore. Let's look at what's happening actually in places like Baltimore and Chicago, right? So part of what we have to do is to understand. And Oakland, we have to understand this, Chris, within the context of Donald Trump's racial politics.
Oh, would you just shut up, Eddie Glaude? MSNBC. Of course, as I said, the left is going to lose their minds. Trump federalizing the police force. We're going to do something about this crime. We're going to clean it up. Underlying root causes. You mean excusing behavior? Because that's the way America's going to take it, Eddie. You don't have an argument here. You don't have a mind here at play. Here's the story. The streets are unsafe. Here comes some people who want to make it safe by actually engaging the law. Thank you. That's the argument. The argument is your progressive brethren, your ideological fellow travelers don't have safe cities. Now, you could say, well, it's me just saying that because I don't live in the city, and who is this white guy to say something? First of all, racist, settle yourself down. As I have made clear many times, I'll say anything I want about any subject I want. I don't get told I can't talk because I'm white. I don't get, I can't talk about this because I'm of my religion. Stop. Talk about anything I want. There's nothing you could do to stop me. And if you want to try, come heavy. I said the words. I mean, it's just insane to think that you could tell another human being they can't have a thought. That is a bridge too far. But Americans are going to say, could we stop the crime? We see this in Chicago all the time. Black residents of Chicago saying to the black mayor, Brendan Johnson, you're terrible. We want a safer city. This isn't about root cause anything. This is about saying we won't tolerate it. And now let's see if that brings down the crime rate. Your way hasn't worked. Let's try an actual implementation of the law. Keep it here. This is Tony Katz Today. And that's where it really is. You can't take it. The left can never take it. It's always something else. It's always another subject. It's always a you don't understand. And then, of course, the ever popular, now let me educate you. No. People want the laws on the books to be applied, and they want prosecutors to prosecute. It's what they want. So let's go see that happen. We saw what happened on the border. Didn't need another law. Just needed to apply the laws on the books and have prosecutions against those who entered the country illegally. Look at the results. Now let's try it in DC. And I guarantee you, you'll be seeing red state governors with blue cities saying, oh, okay, let's see what our laws are. We got this. Let's go. That's what he's losing his mind about. All this argument of Trump doesn't care and Trump doesn't understand and his racial policies, garbage. People want safe streets. They want the law followed. That's the story. Guys, we've got more coming up. So we're in the commercial break, right, for the radio show. So we're in the break here. We're going to come back. I can't believe they're pushing Beto O'Rourke on us. Of course they are. But I just can't believe that it's happening. And we're going to be finger on the dump button Landon all day because that guy, he can't say 2 words without losing his mind. Then Major Mike Lyons is scheduled to be with us in the second hour to discuss the Trump-Putin meeting, what's going on between Russia and Ukraine. Is there a peace deal that's even possible in the offing? So I will bring that to you. I am here. Keep it right here. More is coming up. Hang loose. Welcome back, everybody. Tony Katz today. That is the show. Good to see everybody. Major Mike Lyons will be joining us at the bottom of the hour. Retired United States Army, does his work with West Point, and talk to us about Ukraine and Russia and what a peace deal might look like and what's been happening on the ground. Does Ukraine have any chance here? And I argue, no, they do not. And I'm not trying to be, cruel. I'm just being honest. So we've got that. And then let me get this together. So I've got this story right here. And then we've got, hold on a second. 30 seconds. I hear you. Wait a second. Where in the world? Can't even play that whole thing. So I've got that right there. Nope, can't do that. Sorry. I think we're good now. I think we've got it all together. Glad you guys are here, and my thanks as always to Vladimir von Riest. The watches are assembled right here in the United States, in Indiana. This is the Cornflower Blue Hanoverian. They have a bunch of styles to choose from. You can get yours at vonriest.com, R-I-E-S-T-E. Use promo code KATZ, K-A-T-Z. Get your discount. Go to vonriest.com. Get yours, my people, from Vladimir von Riest. Incredible timepieces you're going to love. vonriest.com. Use promo code KATZ. Get your discount. Let's start a show. Things have gotten so desperate for the Democratic Party that they are now turning to Beto O'Rourke for help.
I hate Illinois Nazis.
I don't know. I don't know how that applied. I wasn't talking about Adam Kinzinger.
I hate Illinois Nazis.
Better, but he's not a Nazi. You can't just call people you don't like a Nazi. Although Kinzinger, did you see the tweet from the former congressman from Illinois, alleged Republican, who was happy to sit on the J6 committee? Nonsense. And he put out a tweet. Trump won't say Epstein. And like 9,000 times he writes. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Hold on a second. Let's see if I can get that for you. It's surreal. It's ridiculous, crazy. This, you want to tell me that this guy is totally fine? Let me ask. Does this look totally fine to you? Donald Trump was friends with Epstein. And it goes on and on. And then in the middle it says Trump lied. Good. Yeah, totally normal thing to do. Totally normal thing to do. Why'd you ask? These people are broken. But it is one heck of a thing when you are so desperate that you turn to Beto O'Rourke to be your spokesperson. Yeah, it's something. Beto O'Rourke is in favor of telling Republicans, we don't care if you engage in redistricting or not. We are simply going to do this anyway. The thing that we said you are anti-American for doing, we're going to do. Now, I know where I'm supposed to cut this off there, producer Landon, but in case I miss it, finger on the dump button, because Beto O'Rourke is a potty mouth. Now, I know what you're saying. Tony, I follow the politics. Could you explain to me really quickly who in the world Beto O'Rourke is? Oh, sure. Absolutely. Maybe you don't know who he is. Here, let me help. Try explain this the best I can. Beto O'Rourke is a loser. Yeah, that was it. There was nothing else to say. I explained him. You asked. I told you. Beto O'Rourke is a loser. Loses House seats, loses Senate seats, former congressman, loses, did he run for governor? Loses that too. Going to run for president, doesn't go anywhere. There's nothing about Beto O'Rourke that is authentic or intellectual or valuable. But the left has no way of moving a message, and some of the better messengers are holding off. Why would they be somebody messaging now when they can go about messaging when they run for president? Beto O'Rourke wants to see if he can still be a somebody and still raise money, although he seems to have cash and is giving it, to example, to these Democrats from Texas who are holed up in Illinois, pretending they're doing some good and stopping redistricting from happening. They're not. They're not. They don't believe in democracy at all. They are willing to thwart it for power. Redistricting is a political process. You have to go vote on it. You don't get to run away like a little coward, which is exactly what they've done. But here's Beto O'Rourke talking about redistricting.
We're not going to let him stop us. Are you with me on that? Ándale. It also means, as Mark was saying earlier, we don't await the punch thrown by these would-be fascists to land. We punch first, and we punch harder. We want California and New Jersey and Illinois and Maryland and every other state where the Democrats hold the governor's mansion, the assembly, and the state senate to redraw their congressional districts now, not wait for Texas to move first, to maximize Democratic Party advantage. Listen, you may say to yourself, well, those aren't the rules.
And then he follows up by saying, well, blank the rules. Okay, Beto. If that's what you want, that's what you get. I was told that violating the rules was un-American, but you have now told us to blank the rules. Okay. When you blank the rules, it's saving democracy. When Republicans blank the rules, it is the end of democracy. How possibly does that work? Well, it works when you have a media that's willing to go along with that, that is thrilled to go along with that. Did you see this headline? Did you see this from Politico right here? This is unbelievable. This was Politico. Democrats try to separate their tactical use of redistricting from that of Republicans. What? What does that even mean? Democrats try to separate their tactical use of redistricting from that of Republicans. So when Democrats do it, it's smart and it's concise and it's pure and it's wholesome and it's for the best good of everybody. When Republicans do it, it's the end of civilization and your meemaw's going to die. I'm old enough to remember when Paul Ryan was throwing my grandma off a cliff, just pushing the whole wheelchair and then going to do himself some P90X, have himself a protein shake. Lord only knows. Listen to them. Listen to how they work and how they operate, how they manipulate. When they do it, it's fine. When you do it, it's a crime. In the same way, when you do it, everybody look what they're doing. Look over there. They're doing that thing. Look at what they're doing. When they do it, why are you looking over here? Why are you so obsessed with us? Oh my gosh, what are you ridiculous? Always with a culture war with you. Honestly, it's like teenage girl. Oh my God, I can't believe you're looking at me like that. Why you always staring at me? It's so weird. I'm just trying to work out in the gym wearing absolutely nothing. My God, I'm making a video of myself. Can't you just leave me alone already? Japers. By the way, that's my teenage girl impression. Right? That's like I could go pro. I'm not gonna lie. That is my ticket right there. If I don't start doing voiceover work immediately, I don't even know what I'm doing. This is the kind of madness. They believe that when they do it, it's fine. They believe when you do it, it's a crime. And they're not shy about this. They're not shy about the idea of making the statement that facts be damned, they can somehow overcome. Let me give you an example. Pete Buttigieg actually believes that he is going to be able to run for president. Kamala Harris might have a better chance, and she has no chance. Democratic Party working overtime to keep that from happening. Desperate to do so. You want to know the story on Pete Buttigieg? Here's the story on Pete Buttigieg. The people over there at the Daily Wire got it all together. Pete Buttigieg polls a literal 0 with black voters. By the way, I poll at 13.5%. You're welcome. I have no idea if that's true, but we should put a poll out there. We should put a poll out to see how I would do with black voters and see if I do better than Pete Buttigieg. Can someone help me do a poll? Seriously. Can someone help me do a poll? By the way, Virginia Cruda with the reporting there. Virginia's great. Somebody who knows about polling, I want to do a poll. I'm known. Should we just do it where I live, or should we do it in the cities where I don't know what it would cost. We'll pick some cities. How would I poll with black voters I live in the Indianapolis area. How would I poll with black voters in Indianapolis? Let's see if I poll better than Pete Buttigieg. Oh, wait a second. This is now happening, right? Who does polling? If I don't get text messages in the next 5 seconds, I'm going to be very disappointed in some people. You know this has to happen, guys. I want to see if I do better. Good gosh. This whole thing about Buttigieg, this is all fantasy. And it started, of course, from the idea that Pete Buttigieg had anything to offer at all. Nothing to offer. The only thing he offered the Democratic Party was the opportunity to say, we supported a gay man. That was it. Let me ask you, does this guy get you interested politically?
More than half of Senate Democrats just voted to oppose the sale of over $500 million worth of U.S. bombs and guns to Israel. Would you?
Before anything, finger on the dump button. This is Pod Save America there. John Favreau asking the question.
You have voted to oppose sending those weapons?
I think we need to insist that if American taxpayer funding is going to weaponry that is going to Israel, that is not going to things that shock the conscience. And look, we see images every day that shock the conscience. So much of this is complicated, but what's not complicated is that if a child is starving because of a choice made by a government, that is unconscionable.
So we already know from having this conversation earlier that he's lying, that the food is kept out by the UN, which won't allow IDF to do the transport. The food is confiscated 87% by Hamas. We know this is the case, but Pete Buttigieg doesn't care if he tells the truth. He doesn't care if he lies, as long as he can sell some idea of, hey, aren't I special? He's not special. And what in the bloody world, if I can ask, is with this
more than half of Senate Democrats just voted
trying to get a close-up. The beard doesn't hide anything. It doesn't make you look more manly. I have a beard. You know why I have a beard? Do you guys want to know why I have a beard? I'll tell you. There are two reasons why I have a beard. The first is, if I don't have a beard, admittedly, I look like a child. I have what some people might call some chubbiness in my cheeks, and I will look ridiculous. But I'll do it for you. I'll shave just to show you what I look like without a beard. The other reason I have a beard, my wife loves it. I'm sorry. Did I have to say anything more than that? I don't think I have to say anything more than that. My wife loves it.
Yes! 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 Oh!
So therefore, beard. Now, somebody asked him why he has a beard. I'm curious. I'm not saying he can't grow a beard, but the whole thing is about trying to create some level of rugged look, and he's wearing the polo shirts. Looks change. I used to wear even on air, a suit all the time. I still do it for TV, but video, I went with the branded and go a little more casual. On a plane, I still wear a suit, which freaks people out, but I do, because people who don't dress up on a plane are terrible. People who wear tank tops and like leggings and stuff and don't wear shoes, you're terrible. I'm willing to fight. It's okay. But this very much seems like Buttigieg trying to reinvent himself. And he's gone from 0% from black voters to 0% from black voters. There's no authenticity about Buttigieg. But I will spend the money. I need a poll in the field. I need a poll. How do I poll black voters in Indianapolis? Do I do better than Pete Buttigieg? Keep it here. This is Tony Katz Today. Well, what Marvin Gaye should I have played instead of Harry Met Sally? Right? So that's the question. By the way, I did reach out to somebody, be like, I need a poll. We got to do it. We got to see what I do. Local radio hosts, nationally syndicated radio host, polls better with black Americans than Pete Buttigieg. That's good. I should do it of like 5 hosts, like of some friends. Be like, wonder how they poll. But I don't think I could pull that. I mean, it's gonna be enough for me. My God, you want to talk about throwing money right out the window for one gag? This is it. This is totally it. All right, let me do this. Let me do this. Actually, I'm going to keep this. No, I'm not. I'm going to do this right here. Good. All right. So what else do we got? What else we got going on? I've got that. Oh, I didn't even get into the Pritzker redistricting nonsense. That's okay. That's okay. We have heard enough of that. Oh, you want to CNN defending Trump? We said, by the way, if I said it from the beginning, I did. We were correct and accurate. With Trump doing this federal takeover of DC, there is no argument that he is working within the law. There's no conversation here about lawlessness. And everybody who is anybody rational will agree. Let's get back to the show. You heard Trump say it. And if you missed any part of it, I've got the whole thing for you. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you in hour 3. I actually recorded the presser, which took place earlier today. And I did it live with my commentary because I didn't want you to miss any part of it, of Trump basically federalizing DC, taking over the police. Pam Bondi is going to be in charge of the police. You might see National Guard. You definitely will see National Guard. You might see others called out. You had Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense there. Kash Patel, FBI Director there. Jeanine Pirro, the attorney in the area there. They're going to prosecute. They're going to go after people. They're going to clean up the city. But what I stated very clearly was, you're going to hear the left lose their minds, but there is nothing outside the bounds of the law that Trump is doing. They're going to scream authoritarian. All of this is within the law, which brings us to CNN. Now, always fingers on the dump button, producer Landon, but I think this is pretty clean. It goes to Eli Honig, who's their legal guy.
Walk us through the sort of legal basis that the president is using to do what he's doing. I talked a little bit about home rule in the last segment, but just in terms of using the National Guard and maybe even federal law enforcement, federal military, I should say, beyond D.C.
So first of all, Dana, the president does have the authority to deploy the National Guard within D.C. That's different than all the states because ordinarily the governors control the National Guards in the state, except for in very narrow circumstances. But when it comes to D.C., yes, the president can deploy the National Guard in D.C., and they are allowed to perform law enforcement-like functions. That is a really rare scenario. Usually military is not allowed to perform civilian law enforcement functions. So that's number one. Separately, the president talked about the Home Rule Act. Now, that's the federal law that established essentially the government of D.C. as we know it now. And the section that the president cited, Section 740, does give the president the authority to take over, to federalize the Metro D.C. police force. That's the police force that patrols all the streets of D.C. There's a couple important limitations on that, though. The first one is that there has to be a finding of an emergency, and I'd look for that to be challenged in court. Maybe some of the statistics we've been discussing will be used. And second of all, that federalization can only last a maximum of 30 days. So at this moment, he's within the Constitution on the National Guard, and he is citing an appropriate law on the takeover of the D.C. police, but I would expect lawsuits about that latter one.
Now, the lawsuits can come all they want. Who gets to decide what an emergency is if not the president of the United States in this situation? This is like all the lawsuits regarding declaring an invasion. Right? Tren de Aragua is an invasion by Venezuela into the United States. Article 4, Section 4. The United States will protect the nation, will guarantee a republic form of government and protect the nation from invasion. Therefore, it is. And when we talk about some of the declarations made, right, you don't need to declare these declarations about being able to enact certain principles, certain laws. This is Alien Enemies Act, etc. This has all been accomplished and done because nobody else but the president can be the person who makes this determination. That's what they're voted to do as commander-in-chief. The president is the one who gets to make the call on law enforcement in D.C. So if the president has determined that there is an emergency, what is the argument? Some judge has decided there's not. Nobody voted for the judge. Who cares what the judge thinks? It's not going to stop the lawsuits. On that much, it is correct. And when we talk about congressional committees, you have control of the House and the Senate. Are people really going to stand in the way of the president trying to clean up the district? I think they would be foolhardy to do so. I think you want to see how it goes. What's going on with Ukraine and Russia? Major Mike Lyons scheduled to be with us next. Keep it here. Let me bring that down. Let me see if I can do this right here. I'm going to try and be super fancy. Get him on the phone. Try our very best to do so. So you see, you guys got to be here while I'm doing the whole thing. Let me see. We'll do that. And we'll give it a minute or two, and then we'll go from there. How much do you think a poll is going to cost me? $5,000? Do you think it's going to cost me $5,000? That's a lot of money to spend on a one-time joke. All polls are crazy expensive. When done right, absolutely. Oh, yeah. By the way, I think I'm low end there. It's probably way more. Probably way more. So, we'll see. We'll see how that one goes. What do you guys got for me? What else is going on? What else do we need to know? Oh, yeah. I've got that. I have got that 10,000%. It's on my list. I will get to it today. Okay, let me get rid of that. Get rid of that. That stays. That's gone. That's gone. That's gone. That's gone. All right. Let me try and call him and see where it goes. Let's see. Let's see if you guys can hear this. You hear it? It's ringing. Mike Lyons, Tony Katz, we are live streaming, so try not to say any dirty words, sir. Yeah, you say that. You say that. So you're doing some West Point stuff? Well, don't reveal what you don't want to reveal. It's live streaming as we speak, so make sure. All right, I warned. Okay. Very, very good. So we're paying attention to whatever a peace deal might look like between Ukraine and Russia. What is Trump trying to get accomplished? What has Russia done? Ukraine done? Ukraine saying, they're not going to move on anything that they're not a part of. So that's the question. So we're going to get to some of that. All right. Good, and good. Yeah, we're 30 seconds away from the show. Look at you. CNN having you. Maybe they're learning. They can't hear him? No, not you, sir. Hold on a second. Why can't you hear him? Hold on. Oh, now you can hear him. Say hello, Major Lyons.
Test 1, 2. This is the test of the
there you go. Got it.
Test 1, 2. Perfect.
So what can one expect in a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine? I mean, never mind that you might not get a deal, that, you might not get them to agree, but what possibly do you think would be the agreement. How do you get Ukraine to accept the fact that they're going to lose land? Wait, they're not going to lose land? How are you going to get Russia to accept the fact that they've been doing this for 3 years and they'll have nothing to show for it except a pile of dead bodies against an army that should have taken 3 hours to defeat? Tony Katz today, good to be with you. Major Mike Lyons joins me right now, retired United States Army West Point graduate military analyst, up and down your cable news dials, and of course, our guy right here. The argument is, Major Lyons, that Trump is going to sit with Vladimir Putin in Alaska and somehow come up with a deal that he's going to send to Vladimir Zelenskyy, and everything's going to work out fine, and he's going to say yes to it. It's going to be great. Before we get to the odds of Ukraine accepting a deal, what is it that the Russians offered up as a possible deal?
So the Russians still have a maximalist objective here. They want basically to take over the Donbass region, the area that they currently have militarily occupied since 2014, in addition to other land on the map that would, from a military perspective, would give them kind of a clearer shot if they wanted to come back and do this again in 3 or 4 years towards Kyiv and towards other strategic locations inside of Ukraine. They want the Zelenskyy government out. They still have the same objectives, the strategic objectives that they've had since the very beginning. So they haven't changed. And so I'm not sure exactly what the president is going to do here, especially if Kyiv and if Zelenskyy is not part of this negotiation on any level.
I want to interrupt you for a moment, and you forgive me, because I want to talk about what the strategic objective is. As I have understood it, the objective was always how much land can you get? Now, Vladimir Putin said also the Ukrainian government is corrupt, and I think it was Nazi this and Lord knows, and they have to go. They seem to have dropped that part of it. So the objective is still a land grab, or is there something else at play?
No, it's clearly a land grab. It has to. I mean, how does Vladimir Putin claim any kind of victory if he doesn't have a land grab? Because he's not going to change the government inside of Ukraine. So, he wants to have something that he can bring back to show for what Russia has sacrificed over the past few years, which again is why I don't see them not agreeing to anything unless they get this land grab, unless they get this region in the Donbass. But then on the flip side of that seems to be where Zelenskyy and the government, we think, is still caving in or still dug in on not giving that up. I mean, Trump, he's kind of given away the game a little bit when he had him in his office with the vice president, when he started saying he doesn't have the cards. And so from his perspective, the cards are specifically that land that he doesn't control anymore. So again, you put it all together. I think they're going to be at loggerheads very quickly on Friday. I'm not sure they're going to have any kind of agreement or any kind of deal.
Talking to Major Mike Lyons, retired United States Army military analyst. Trump wants just the fighting to stop, and Trump does. I would argue makes no difference to him if Donetsk and Luhansk, or this Donbass region, is given up. Kherson and some other spots, if that is given up, although there might be hey, you're pushing too much here. As Ukraine sees it, giving up land is a non-starter. They're not going to do that, but that's the argument for a permanent peacekeeping force. That's the argument for permanent troops in the eastern part of Ukraine to keep Russia at bay or make them stop altogether. So what Ukraine's position seems to be is, hey, NATO, do this because it's in your best interest. Save our country. Keep the Russians at bay at your cost, and we'll just keep taking whatever it is we can get from you. That seems to be the Vladimir Zelenskyy position.
And I just don't see Russia, though. There's not enough leverage on Russia for them to stop in order to gain their strategic objectives. So that's a great position for Zelenskyy to have. And I think he's seeing much more support coming from Europe. He's seeing the president also speaking the same way. But if you go back looking for a model in history, right, you look at the Dayton Accords that they had in 1995, right, where the first objective was just to stop the shooting altogether. And I think that's Trump, going into this. That's the initial art of the deal here. He just wants the shooting to stop. Now, the shooting stop helps both sides, right? It helps the Ukrainians, and I think it helps the Russians more, frankly, because I think they've got to be much more exhausted here. But when you keep going down a step further, because the stakes here are just more global, and not just this, really, it's not just a regional conflict now anymore with all of Europe involved. Without the enforcement piece, without making sure that NATO boots are on the ground there to enforce it, I don't see how any peace treaty between Russia and Ukraine would mean anything to Vladimir Putin anyway. So I think that's the challenge that this whole thing fits. And we've talked about the red line for Russia has always been Ukraine not being into NATO.
So the Dayton Agreement, by the way, ended the war in Bosnia. So that's the reference there. Talking to Major Mike Lyons, retired United States Army military analyst. You're making the statement that Trump's walking into a meeting, and I would argue must know, based on your commentary, that there's no reason for Russia to stop if they believe they can just stay at it and stay at it and stay at it and eventually kill enough Ukrainians to make them walk away from this land, get something. But that's saying that NATO isn't interested in stopping them. Now that NATO has moved from 2% GDP to 5% GDP, the Secretary General Mark Rutte clearly understands Trump is 100% a Trump guy. Anything Trump wants, this is great, this is wonderful, because I think he sees it as a better opportunity for NATO's future. Is NATO down with sitting idly by and letting Russia kill enough Ukrainians, never mind letting enough Russians die, to get a couple thousand acres or hectares of land and say, okay, that's it? Because nobody's going to believe that Russia's going to stop from this. So first things first, NATO okay with the idea of allowing this to continue?
Yeah, I think it's a hard sell for that to happen no matter what, because of the fact that Russia, again, doesn't stop. I think Putin has to lock in some kind of gains in this. He's got to lock in the land there. And NATO, as Trump has pointed out, NATO countries can still provide a lot more support to Ukraine aside from what I'll call ministerial support at this point. But again, you go back to Trump, he's just looking to strike a deal. To me, this instinctively looks to me very transactional, and this is what he does best. Like, he just got that deal done last week with Armenia and Azerbaijan. I mean, he's ready to go on to the next. I want to end the war here, and that's what he's looking to have a brand. I just think we're setting ourselves up for a great disappointment, because Putin knows that. Putin knows he's got some kind of leverage here, and I think Putin still believes that Trump thinks that he has to take that he needs to move Ukraine off this thing about giving up land, and they're not just going to do that.
So they're not going to do it, and Zelenskyy has to believe he's got NATO support to not do that, which put Trump at odds with NATO in a way, because Trump being transactional, right? The two rules of Trumpism apply. The first rule of Trumpism is Trump wins. The second rule of Trumpism is that a deal can always be made as long as it adheres to the first rule of Trumpism. And the win is I stopped the war, just like I said I was going to do. But Trump is not cool. I don't care what leftist media says. He's walking into a meeting knowing that it's not going to work out. That doesn't seem to be a very Trump-like position. So now play it to the other side. The meeting happens. Vladimir Putin isn't interested in any deal. He isn't going to agree to any deal. Even if he says he'd agree to a deal, it's not going to happen. What should Trump's move be if you're advising him?
Well, then if that's the case, then he has to come full circle with support and send overload military equipment into Ukraine. He has to, force other nations to do the same. Sanctions. You saw putting sanctions on India, what that did already. Try to ratchet up this economic power. I think deep down he doesn't believe in that, because he thinks that countries will always work around that. But he's kind of boxed himself into a corner, and Vladimir Putin might likely make him, try to do that. But I think deep down he doesn't want to do that. He wants this over with. So we just have to see how.
I understand, but if it's not over with, Trump is going to send in weaponry, but he's certainly not going to send in American troops. But we're not answering the question of, does this mean that NATO troops are gonna go in and play some kind of peacekeeping force if no deal can be made? Can NATO nations, really European nations, afford to let Russia engage this war of attrition to its victory?
No, and that's why if I'm advising Trump, without that reinforcement, without that, that way to take this, a mechanism in order to enforce this peace treaty, all we're doing is risking this as a timeout for Russia to basically reload. I think they need a break right now. I think the Russians are somewhat culminated in certain areas. They've had some gains on the ground, but they're on the verge of certain areas in particular that if they had somewhat of a little bit of a strategic pause or tactical pause on the ground right now, that would go a long way. Plus, they're more concerned about, you're seeing deep strikes now by the Ukraine military and the drone strikes that are taking place. So Russia needs this as a pause. So they might do anything and say anything to get that pause. But I'm not, in the long run, I think it's just going to be them trying to run out the clock a little bit until they can find a fracture within the U.S. and the European allies.
Before I let you go, what is the situation in Russia itself, as you know it, and their feel of this war? Is it having an effect on internal politics? As all politics are local. Is it having an effect on Putin there that maybe he needs to wrap this up to keep everybody calm back on the home front?
No, it's my understanding that this is solidifying Vladimir Putin's control of Russia. It's not, we've projected Russia to be this Soviet Union Politburo back from the 80s and 90s. I've kind of fallen into this trap and did a little more research and recognized that, Russia only has 150,000 or 150 million people, and they're not the Soviet Union. So if this was the former Soviet Union, that might be the case. But Vladimir Putin has a clear stranglehold on all things that go on in Russia. Controls the media, controls anything that's on the communication side. So there's no, from what we're seeing, there's no revolution, or there's no uprising that's going to take place. He's fully in control, fully controls the message. And from his perspective, the United States is still an enemy, and I think that's being projected still inside of Russia. And the United States will get involved with this position now. We'll get involved with Ukraine, and it'll just make him stronger inside of Russia.
Major Mike Lyons, retired United States Army. I appreciate you taking the time to be with us. Follow him on Twitter X, MAJ Mike Lyons, LYONS. Major Mike Lyons on Twitter X. Appreciate you. More is coming up. I'm Tony Katz. Welcome back. Good to be with you guys. Tony Katz, what is going down? Let me bring this back over. This back over. Beautiful. And bring this here. Now it's all normal. Fantastic then. All right. I appreciate Major Lyons. And the sound was all good, and I loved that. There we go. Perfection. Got that all squared away. What else? What else we got? Oh, Paramount UFC. I got that story. I think this is changes everything. Everything. All right. Well, that's certainly a story right there. Answer your questions. I'm very curious how Judge Jeanine is going to do things in terms of prosecution. She doesn't seem to be somebody that hasn't shown anything where she's going to be forgiving on prosecution, which is good. Let's see it work. You know, the other side of the coin, right? If we look at Alinsky's rules for radical, right? A good tactic is one that your people enjoy. One of the other rules for radicals is that the downside of a successful approach is that you have to deal with the consequences. The consequences are you wanted now to be in control. Now you got it. Now you got it. And Rogue, hey, I appreciate the gift. Thank you. Yeah, I see that Trump signed an executive order last week prohibiting censorship and debanking of banks and financial institutions. Yes, and we talked about it. My line was, okay, now do credit card processing. You guys know I'm in that business. I took it over from my father, rest his soul. I can help you. Just reach out, Tony@TonyKatz.com. Happy to do it. I don't do everything. I do specific things, but we help people accept credit card processing. And Visa, MasterCard is very hard to deal with. Man, it'd be nice to see them not be able to be so ridiculous in how they engage with a lot of business. Back to the show. So armed carjackers have now stolen a tanker truck in Los Angeles, and they got away. They have stolen 4 different vehicles. They were in an F-150. Then they were in another thing. Then they stopped the tanker truck and took that. I swear to you, this is like the ending of Johnny Dangerously. Tony Katz today. If you never saw Johnny Dangerously, Michael Keaton, Joe Piscopo, so good. Johnny Dangerously is a great film. Great film. It's a crazy story. But the story that I was going for today is the story about Paramount Plus. You want to talk about game changer? This is it. Paramount, which is now owned by Skydance, big merger, billions of dollars. They are the ones, Paramount, that has taken on the South Park streaming, 5 years, $1.5 billion. And I think Paramount got a deal. Like, I'm stunned it's that little. They now have, starting in 2026, a 7-year deal to stream the UFC, $7.7 billion. So it's a backloaded deal. So the first couple of years will be less than 1.1 billion a year, and then it'll be more than that in those final years. And number 2, they're not doing pay-per-view. They're not charging for the events It comes in the $12.99 a month subscription you get with regular Paramount Plus, their premium service. Oh, what you just heard was millions of people leaving whatever other services they were with to get Paramount Plus. Now, they may still get ESPN because ESPN has the WWE, and with the buy-in from whatchamacallit, from NFL, they may have the majority of NFL games. This is nuts. This is huge because I like UFC, but I hate working with the ESPN stuff. Now that it's under one roof, Paramount Plus it is. Buy Netflix. Something's got to give. It's most probably going to be Netflix. This is a huge, huge move, and not doing his pay-per-view is a game-changing thought process. It's a gamble, and I love it. I love it. This is Tony Katz today. Yeah, I don't have Paramount Plus yet, but that's about to change. I'm $12.99 a month. Yeah, I mean, Netflix will be gone. I'll live without it. Or maybe Peacock will be gone. But I had Peacock for some of the NFL games. That's why I think I had it. So we'll see. Guys, I appreciate you more than you know. I am back tomorrow at noon. Make sure that you do two things. First things first, get your tickets for From Hollywood to the Heartland with myself and actor Nick Searcy. That is August 23rd. It's going to be an incredible night of bourbon, cigars, stories about DC, stories about Hollywood, and why we both now live in the Midwest. Tickets.tonykatz.com. Tickets.tonykatz.com. Get your tickets right now. We're going to sell out. That's the plan. Get your tickets right now. Tickets.tonykatz.com. Do that. I want to see you there. And of course, my thanks to the people. That's Von Riest right there. R-I-E-S-T-E. Watches assembled in Indiana, right here in the United States. Beautiful timepieces. You're going to keep them forever. You're going to pass them down the generations. That's what you want. You want something that's going to last, that tells a story, that allows you to share a story. It should not be disposable. We have enough of the disposable world. And I am on a really interesting mission to put an end to that in a lot of different goods. I've got a story about that and an announcement coming up in the next couple months about that business that I've been working on with a partner. Good guy. And I think we're going to do something special. Von Riest, R-I-E-S-T-E, vonriest.com. Use promo code CATS and get your discount. Do that immediately as well. Guys, I appreciate you very much so. I will catch you tomorrow. Take care.